insist was a military bunker.
It was a legitimate target, and it was struck.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tonight, America at war.
Good evening. The Iraqis claim it was a civilian air raid shelter. American military officials say they have evidence it was an important Iraqi military bunker. Whatever it was, a lot of Iraqi civilians are dead tonight as a result of the bombing attack on the facility in a residential area of western Baghdad. We begin with news of the attack. Jeremy Bowen of the BBC reports now for NBC News.
This evening, according to rescue workers, hundreds of bodies still lie in the shelter. They say that more than 200 have been recovered. A large crowd had gathered by the time we were taken there this morning. Everyone I spoke to told the same story. They said that the shelter was used by women, children, and old men. Some bystanders said more than 1,000 of them had gone in the night before. The crowd outside seemed deeply shocked by what had happened. People told us that the British and the Americans were savages, animals, and criminals. This man said that 11 of his family were in the shelter. Another asked if this was the way to fight for Kuwait. Outside the entrance, about 8 corpses had been loaded onto a lorry. Men who said they'd left their families there the night before waited.
I don't know why do they hit children and already why I lose my wife and my children. Is that fair? Nobody says something. Some of this massacre. They should not. I can't say anything more.
We went inside. Civil defense workers were trying to force themselves in through the heat and smoke. Some of them brought out a body. They were already exhausted, and their job, taking out bodies and searching desperately for survivors, had scarcely started. On the roof, there was a large hole where the projectile had smashed into the building. The bomb or missile went through a reinforced concrete roof at least a yard thick. The Iraqis say the attack happened at about 4 o'clock this morning. It's the worst damage by far that they've taken us to see, but they say there have been more serious attacks on civilian areas. The head of Baghdad's Civil Defense Force said there were no military targets in the area. We were taken to a hospital. About 30 bodies had been laid out in the yard. Most were burnt beyond recognition. A doctor was there.
This is the most vicious and cruel attack that I have ever witnessed. And I only hope that those who are responsible for this can be forgiven by God.
There are very few survivors. One doctor said 8. Another said he wasn't expecting to admit many more. Among them, a girl whose mother and 2 brothers were trapped, and a 5-year-old boy whose mother and 2 sisters hadn't been found. There were dreadful scenes outside the hospital. None of this was set up for our cameras. It was real grief and real anger. Jeremy Bowen for NBC News, Baghdad.
Although Bowen said he saw no evidence that it was a military facility at the Pentagon, a different point of view tonight. NBC's Fred Francis is there with the American military explanation of what happened and why. Fred?
Tom, Pentagon officials claim they have intercepted detailed military conversations from the Baghdad bunker to commanders in Kuwait. And they have detailed pictures which prove the building was used by senior officers.
But this is what the Pentagon released to defend its targeting. A drawing which shows the so-called Iraqi communications bunker on the southwest edge of the city, surrounded by civilian homes, a school, and a mosque.
Saddam Hussein, who lives in this city, has seen the results of a very strategic and surgical bombing campaign directed against that military infrastructure. He had to know that we knew that this was a military facility. And why he would put innocent civilians in this facility troubles me greatly, and it's something that, quite frankly, just mystifies us.
Because of the civilian neighborhood, one stealth fighter dropped 2 laser-guided 2,000-pound bombs at 4:30 in the morning. The building had been covered with 15 feet of steel-reinforced concrete. It had a camouflage roof, and its radios, deep in the basement, were protected from the electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, of a nuclear blast.
You don't EMP harden a bomb shelter ever. It's a very expensive thing to do. We do that with a lot of the communications that we have, and it costs a whole lot of money, and the only possible reason on earth to EMP harden something is to protect military communications.
The first bomb punched a hole in the roof. The second followed to explode deep inside. Military officials who watched and listened to the building by satellite for 5 days say now they believe the civilians were moved in at night.
Well, from a military point of view, nothing went wrong. From a personal point of view, I'm outraged that civilians might have been placed in harm's way. And I blame the Iraqi government and the Iraqi leadership for that.
Tom, military leaders say they will not change their strategy. Even if Iraqi civilians are used as shields, they say they will bomb any facility from which Iraqi leaders talk to troops in Kuwait. Tom?
Fred Francis, if they did intercept radio messages from that bunker, what did they learn from them?
Well, after the battle for Khafji, they overheard commanders from that bunker talking to commanders in southern Kuwait, telling them to maneuver, telling them that there was no air cover, telling them not to tell the other troops after the battle was over just how badly it went. And that's the sort of detail, rich detail, that they need to plan the ground offensive. And that's why that facility was very important.
Thank you, Fred Francis, at the Pentagon tonight. From the beginning, of course, President Bush has worked hard to ensure that he had political support as well as military strength in his fight with Saddam Hussein. As NBC's John Cochran at the White House tells us now, the White House was busy on both fronts today. John?
Tom, the White House moved very quickly to limit the political damage caused by the deaths of so many civilians. Spokesman Marlin Fitzwater took the unusual step of reading a lengthy statement expressing regret at the loss of life.
We don't know why civilians were at this location, but we do know that Saddam Hussein does not share our value in the sanctity of life.
The State Department also tried to shift the blame onto Saddam.
Once again, his personal, ruthless ambition makes him indifferent to the cost to his own people.
A military briefer insisted the U.S. would never have targeted the bunker if it had known civilians were there.
If it was prior knowledge that we knew that civilians were in the area, would we have attacked it even though we knew it was a command and control bunker? And right now I'd say absolutely no, we would not attack that bunker.
But White House spokesman Fitzwater challenged that, saying, you can't go making rules. You can't leave yourself open to a situation in which Saddam Hussein says, yes, I've got a civilian at every military target in this country. The bombing of civilians came at a particularly bad time for President Bush, who was already worried about Saddam's media campaign.
I think there's a conscientious effort on his part to try to raise the propaganda value of accusing us of indiscriminate bombing of civilians, and it's simply not true.
Today, Iraq wasted no time demanding that the UN Security Council condemn the pre-dawn raid.
The American, with all their arrogance, their all deliberate lies, they insist that was a military shelter.
Here at the White House, they're breathing easier because, so far at least, the Arab world has not erupted in anger at today's bombing. But tomorrow is another day. Tom?
Thank you, John. It is important to remember, of course, that while Iraqis have allowed Western reporters into Baghdad, they still keep them from Kuwait, where the Iraqi military reportedly has waged its own war on civilians. I'll be back with more in a moment.
This is how the roomy new Cutlass Supreme SL looks after traveling 300 highway miles on just 10 gallons of gas. And this is how Honda Accord looks after the same challenge. Well, if it hadn't run out of gas 20 miles back, you'd see that it's smaller and it's blue. Next trip, Dad, it's yours. Who says you can't get great gas mileage in a roomy, comfortable car? Cutlass Supreme is one car that does it all and does it right.
This is the new generation of old.
I have just the thing for that cold.
Most kids think that medicine has to taste bad, but not grape-flavored Dimetapp Elixir.
You like Dimetapp?
Grape-flavored Dimetapp Elixir. It relieves kids as well as colds.
Roses are red, violets are blue. If you don't bring a Baskin-Robbins ice cream cake, we're through.
Play it safe. Order your Valentine's cake at Baskin-Robbins now.
News of today's bombing in Baghdad hit hard across the border in Jordan, which has sided squarely with Saddam Hussein in this war. An angry crowd tried to march on the U.S. Embassy in Amman. NBC's Dennis Murphy is there tonight. Dennis, what's the latest?
Tom, I was with some very angry people just a few hours ago. The crowd was chanting, "No more American embassies in Arab lands." They saw gruesome pictures of dead Iraqis on television and then gathered on the street. Middle-class demonstrators, intent on reaching the U.S. Embassy a few miles away. Police tried to turn back the women in the lead. There was shouting, pushing and shoving. Authorities do not want a major anti-American incident with U.S. relations so precarious now. The police lost control of the small crowd, no more than 200 strong. Riot police arrived and brought the march to a halt. The protesters sat in the street and chanted, "Go on, Saddam, the true Arabs are with you." Anger over the attack on the Baghdad shelter put the anti-American temperature here, already hot, into the fever range.
Yes, it is deliberate because they know this is a shelter and there are children and women and all, that this is not a military target, and Bush is a liar.
I was very, very angry. And if I can do anything against America, I will do it.
The old women and men, thousands and thousands of men and women and children are every day they are bombed.
Today, King Hussein spoke generally about civilian deaths in Iraq. The news of the attack on the shelter hadn't broken yet.
There is a human tragedy of a very large magnitude that is occurring there.
The marchers who were turned back tonight say they will increase their numbers and try to reach the U.S. Embassy tomorrow. Just after that march, a few blocks from here, a young German student was stabbed. His attacker, who was arrested, told police he thought his victim was American. He wanted to, quote, avenge the Arab nation. Tom?
Thank you. Dennis Murphy in Amman, Jordan tonight. For its part, the Soviet Union now has taken the lead on the diplomatic front, and with good reason. The Soviets are looking beyond this war to their own position in the Middle East. NBC's Bob Abernathy has more tonight.
The foreign minister of Kuwait arriving tonight in Moscow, which is suddenly a center for Middle East diplomacy. President Gorbachev's special envoy to Iraq, Yevgeny Primakov, who talked with Saddam Hussein yesterday, also arrived back in Moscow tonight.
I can't say anything is definite, but there's a glimmer of hope.
Iraq's foreign minister, Tariq Aziz, who visited Moscow twice last year, is due again Sunday for more talks with Gorbachev, whose spokesmen are now suggesting incentives for Iraq to leave Kuwait.
Should Iraq decide to comply with the resolutions of the UN Security Council, we should all think possibly about some guarantees for Iraqi territorial integrity and independence.
With Iraq just 150 miles from the Soviet southern border, Moscow has deep fears of war there escalating out of control. Also, there are 50 million Muslims in the Soviet Union, many of whom, like these Azerbaijanis, strongly support Saddam Hussein. And Soviet generals don't want their former influence in the Middle East replaced by the U.S. Today, top communists in the armed forces accused the U.S. of wanting to destroy Iraq.
Is this really a war to protect the sovereignty of Kuwait? And was it worth exterminating so many people to safeguard this sovereignty?
Soviet forces, of course, have been doing their own killing in Lithuania, and liberals here charge the generals are just trying to divert attention from that.
The more the USA gets involved in the Middle East, the more the hands of conservatives are freed for an attack on democracy in our country.
The Soviets insist they still back all the UN resolutions on Iraq, but it's also their conviction that the greater the role they can play in ending the war, the more influence they'll have when time comes to make peace. Bob Abernathy, NBC News, Moscow.
Next up, a change. Vital signs. Growing old, staying fit, living longer.
Ford Motor Company profiles in quality, vision.
Quality of the glass that goes into our cars is so important, we make it ourselves.
No other car company in the world does that.
Ford glass has to pass over 110 quality inspections. Our people check it, our lasers check it, our robots check it.
Our glass is so good, it not only goes into our cars, many other automakers put it in their cars.
Our goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world.
At Ford, quality is job one.
Your high-fiber cereal
tastes like a high-fiber cereal.
But my high-fiber cereal is different.
Why? Because it comes in a big red box?
No, because it's delicious.
Really?
It's the only one with this delicious combination of raisins, dates, nuts, and crunchy clusters.
Keeps sounding better and better.
And crispy high-fiber bran flakes.
That makes it perfect.
That makes it fruit and fiber.
And that makes fruit and fiber my high-fiber cereal.
Post fruit and fiber cereal.
Delicious.
Why would you want your fiber any other way?
Ziploc presents Fingerman.
Hi, I'm here to demonstrate a big new idea. That's right, introducing the new Gripper Zipper from Ziploc. Now the easiest closing bag there is. In fact, I can even close it, whoa, blindfolded. I know it's closing because I can feel the zipper grabbing hold. It's locking. Feel it close the first time, every time. And you don't have to see it to believe it. Ooh. Ziploc bags with the new Gripper Zipper, the easiest closing bag there is.
How early is too early to plan for your retirement? All things considered, right now is not too early for most people to talk with Merrill Lynch. You're going to need about 60% of your pre-retirement income to retire comfortably. And we have ways you may not even have thought about to help you build for that goal. When should you start planning for retirement? Well, even this is not too early. Merrill Lynch, we're bullish on your financial future.
Tonight on Vital Signs, America working out. Obsession with exercise, of course, has become a big part of our culture. And the images, well, they're right out of the latest exercise video. But there is another image of Americans working out, a much older image. NBC's Jim Cummins.
For older Americans, it's a fountain of youth. Just ask Joe Weaver.
I have fewer pains now than I did 10 years ago when I retired.
Or Katie Dixon.
My doctor treats me for high blood pressure, cholesterol, angina, and I have a bad whiplash from an automobile accident. So I feel good now, and I think it helps all of those.
It even helped Lois McGuire, who waited until she was 80 to begin exercising.
You just gets all your muscles going. You just feel better all over. You go home and get some things done.
She has changed fantastically.
Joe, Katie, and Lois are among thousands of older people who've been studied by Dr. Kenneth Cooper. He wrote the book on aerobics back in 1968.
Amazed really how much better EKG looks this year than it did last year. We're finding that you can slow down the aging process. You can reverse the aging process. The point is there are alternative approaches to aging. We don't have to deteriorate as rapidly as we are with aging if we follow some of these basic concepts.
Such as walking 2 miles 3 times a week at an easy pace. Cooper says it can add 3 years to a person's life. It helps explain why there has been an explosion of exercise activity by older people, from mall walkers in Dallas to marathon runners in San Francisco. They're exercising for all kinds of reasons and getting all kinds of benefits. Why do you come over here to exercise?
Because my husband says, let's go to aerobics, and we go.
Dorothy Boris's husband, Harry, began exercising 15 years ago after doctors gave him a pacemaker for his heart.
That's a way to attack it.
Boris stepped up his activity after a triple bypass operation in 1985. Now he's 78 years old and going strong.
I do everything. Everything. And Dorothy will attest to it.
Scientists have discovered that even minimal exercise strengthens bones, muscles, and lowers cholesterol levels at any age. Because of this, organized exercise programs are expanding to include people who used to be considered too old. The founder of this chain of nursing homes says that when he first got in the business 40 years ago, the average age of his patients was 72. Now it's 88, and they're still exercising.
How do I convince my 80-year-old father to get out of his easy chair and start walking around the block every day?
First thing is you invite him to go for a walk with you. Visit with him about the fact that he doesn't have to climb Kilimanjaro to maintain his vigor.
The experts say for all of us, just a little exercise could help keep our society from being overwhelmed by medical problems as we grow older. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Dallas.
Tomorrow on Guns and Drugs. LSD, one of the popular drugs of the 60s, now the acid nightmare is back.
So what are we hearing now? Wait on airbags for minivans.
Nobody puts an airbag in a minivan. It's too tough to engineer them. Well, we did it anyway. No waiting, they're here. Sure, people still have to wear seatbelts with a minivan airbag. So what? Everybody should wear a seatbelt. No, some things you wait for, some things you don't. Minivans with airbags, you don't wait.
I never was much on investing. Couldn't trust people who had all kinds of ideas on what to do with somebody else's money. But the time comes when you gotta stretch what you got. So I checked with AARP. Got a lot of advice on money management, investment plans, and funds. I'm doing okay. But you know what I like even more? I trust them. Can't say that about everyone.
AARP, making a difference.
Potpourri. But we're more than just potpourri. I'm the only potpourri carpet deodorizer with genuine Arm & Hammer baking soda to absorb odors and freshen naturally.
And I'm the only air freshener with Arm & Hammer baking soda. The natural way to deodorize tough bathroom odors and make the air potpourri fresh.
I freshen the carpet.
And I freshen the air.
Natural freshness
From the baking soda experts.
When you've got hemorrhoids, walking is hard. Sitting is worse. Anusol ointment has an anesthetic for the pain and itch. Does your brand? Anusol ointment has an anesthetic to take the hurt out of hemorrhoids.
New Alpine Lace American Slices.
Tastes so good.
Low cholesterol and 50% less sodium.
Okay, so good.
2/3 less saturated fat.
Healthy and tasty American. Tastes so good. Alpine Lace.
In Washington today, a sweeping White House plan to upgrade the nation's transportation systems. It calls for 7 times as much spending for highways as for mass transit. And it does put a greater burden on the states. NBC's Robert Hager has details tonight.
With the interstate system now nearly completed, the administration today sent Congress proposals for the next 5 years. A $105 billion program to relieve congestion and repair crumbling highways and bridges. But it wants state governments to pay more, too. The interstate system, built over the last 3 decades, stretches 43,000 miles. Now, the Bush administration proposes a start on a system twice again as big, to be called the National Highway System, linking virtually all areas not connected by interstate.
The future of Americans' transportation rests on the new foundation that we're laying today.
The national highways wouldn't always be sleek, limited access roads. Most would simply be improved versions of what are presently called primary highways. But while the federal government paid 90% of interstate costs and 80% of the primary system, it would pay only 75% of the new national highway costs and 60% for roads outside the national system. Officials of some financially strapped states are disappointed. Frank Francois directs the Association of State Highway Officials.
We believe this will shortchange the local roads and the state roads that are not part of this national highway system, that more money is needed there.
Transportation Secretary Samuel Skinner takes issue.
There's a tendency in state and local governments to look at the federal government traditionally as a source of free money, and why not apply for it? What the heck? Because it's really not being paid by local taxpayers. They kind of detach from the federal coffer.
The bill also encourages more toll roads and new systems to guide motorists away from traffic jams. Next, expect a big fight in Congress, with every area looking for its piece of the action, or in this case, piece of the concrete. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
Near Mexico City today, there was a tragedy at a church on this Ash Wednesday. At least 41 worshipers were killed. 25 others were injured in a stampede when thousands tried to crowd into the church for services. Next up on Nightly News, a Hall of Famer throws old age a curve.
Just flakes, huh? A little old-fashioned, don't you think? Too simple. I mean, I know you're going for that good old days thing, but all this makes me think of is the depression. Now, wait a minute. This doesn't taste old-fashioned. It's good. I like this simple. I like it a lot.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes? You know, they used to be a cereal.
Taste them again for the first time.
This is what healthy gums look like. Your bleeding gums look like this.
But they only bleed occasionally.
It's a bacterial infection. Untreated, it could spread deeper.
Oh, no.
Don't worry. We can stop bleeding gums. First, we'll clean your teeth. Then, at home, as part of daily home care, I can give you medicine.
My gums stop bleeding.
Ask your dentist about the home care treatment for bleeding gums. Oral Health Pharmaceuticals from Procter & Gamble.
Today, there's a diet pill that can help you lose weight without caffeine to make you nervous.
All my life I've been struggling with my weight. With Dexatrim, I finally lost weight and without being hungry.
No matter what else you've tried, Dexatrim can help you lose weight. Just one works all day, morning through bedtime, to control your appetite and help you lose weight.
Dexatrim did it for me. I lost weight and feel great.
Today's caffeine-free Dexatrim. Nothing works harder to help you lose weight. Nothing.
If you smoke and wear dentures like my scriptwriter friend, you need New Smoker's Polident. It powers away tough tobacco stains. And now it has even more minty mouthwash ingredients to leave your dentures
minty fresh clean.
Try New Smoker's Polident.
In weather this raw, don't take chances, take chapstick. This infrared camera compares lips sealed with chapstick and lips without chapstick. Chapstick seals in moisture to heal and prevent chapped lips. Don't take chances, take chapstick.
Here's an instant baseball trivia question. What player already in the Hall of Fame hopes to have a great rookie year? You guessed it, Jim Palmer, former star pitcher and current underwear mannequin. To be brief, he'd like to keep the latter and return to the former. Here's NBC's Kenley Jones.
After 19 seasons pitching for the Baltimore Orioles, he won 20 games or more 8 times. Jim Palmer reluctantly retired in 1985. 5 years later, Palmer was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Let's talk about the pitching matchup today.
In the meantime, he had established himself as a broadcaster and as the nation's best-known salesman of men's underwear. But Palmer still thinks he can pitch in the major leagues. Now, 6 years after he last took the mound, he's attempting a comeback at the age of 45.
I felt that baseball was something that I maybe prematurely stopped doing. I know it's a long shot. Straight.
Palmer has been working out at the University of Miami with assistant coach Laser Collazo, who told the Hall of Famer his mechanics were all wrong, that he was pitching with his arm instead of his body.
Instead of getting mad or upset with me, he listened.
When I throw the ball now, I throw a little bit harder than I did.
You know, if you want him to crank it up more.
Palmer has invited big league scouts to watch him this week as he pitches batting practice to some minor league players.
When he wanted to locate his pitches and move the ball around, I think he did that exceptionally well. His curveball looked real good, and his fastball is still alive at the age of 45. It's very surprising to me.
But can he still get major league batters out?
What I saw today, it's a possibility, but again, it's a long season, and you know, those things would have to be answered in spring training somewhere if indeed they were going to be answered.
If Palmer is successful, he will become the first member of the Hall of Fame ever to come back and play in the major leagues.
We'll just see if anybody's interested. And I'm fully prepared that if nobody is, I will have had a nice couple of months focusing myself, getting myself in better shape, and I have to do underwear ads on Monday, so it's probably a good time.
Kenley Jones, NBC News, Miami.
That's Nightly News up to the minute. I'm Tom Brokaw. We will have around-the-clock coverage of America at war on this NBC station.